Hey guys, what's going on? The Ranker is back, and I recently proved to myself that I'm unable to deliver content on a weekly basis. How tragic. This video is going to be good though, because today we're going to be ranking characters from The Office. The Office USA is an Americanized version of its British counterpart. Some would argue it's even significantly better than the original, because America does everything better, like healthcare and dental work. With so many different characters to look at, let's go ahead and get started. Up first we have Andy Bernard, the Nard Dog, Cornell graduate. Andy is a man with many talents, but unfortunately being liked is not one of them. His character debut fell a little flat when he was being annoying as well as a suck up to Michael, but it would eventually develop for the better. He can be loved and hated at the same time. He's kind of like that one guy in your class who's really annoying and never shuts up. Andy is a pretty funny character, not the funniest. I'll put him in B. Up next we have Angela. If there's anyone out there who's similar to Angela's character, stay away from me. She plays her part well by being an uptight, inconsiderate, unfaithful woman, but manages to get a happy ending. Because that's the way the world should work. She becomes a little nicer towards the end, but nothing major. For as bad as Angela is, she is definitely not the worst, but she's still low. D tier. Bob Vance. Like, who cares, man? Like, I can't even name any scenes from him. Robert California. Robert became the boss after D'Angelo got hurt in a basketball accident. He's a pretty unusual character whose humor is for a real select audience. It must have been really disappointing for hardcore Office fans when he had to take over Michael's role. Couldn't imagine that. Robert is pretty trash because he did try to get Dwight fired in one episode, along with Nellie. So I give him an F. Kathy. Kathy was yet another character added during the post-Michael Scott era. She's mostly known for attempting to canoodle with Jim, a happily married man. This gets some Office fans really ticked off. As a matter of fact, they've given her a hard time about it, whether it be online or on the streets. Now, if you're one of those people, allow me to say, get a life. Because if you feel that strongly about a TV show that you would harass one of the characters, then you obviously have none. Kathy, uninteresting and really not that important in the grand scheme of things. A lot of D's so far. Creed, let's go. Creed is a man of few words, but whenever he has something to say, we're always listening. You never really know what to expect from Creed because he's really bizarre. He provides good comedic value in a show with tons of it. You just never know what you're going to get with Creed, except something funny. Creed, you're a great character, but not the greatest. A tier. That's still really commendable. Daryl. Daryl was a warehouse worker who worked his way up to become an office worker. I feel like his best moments are whenever he's being tested by Michael because you can tell he's having none of that. Also when he was depressed about not winning the lottery and getting drunk at the Christmas party. Being a solid character can get you really far. It got him as far as Andy. David Wallace. I can't really say much for David other than his invention Suck It, which was really funny. I have to put him with the other mediocres. And now transitioning to a character who's not mediocre at all, Dwight Schrute. Similar to Creed, Dwight is pretty unpredictable. He is skilled in self-defense, farming, and sales. However, he's also pretty dumb because he can be outsmarted by Jim any day. Despite his gullibleness, he's a good character, and is a good example of how character development should be done. His extreme ways of doing things can also make for great episodes, like Fire Safety. Now, if you haven't watched The Office before, Fire Safety is a good episode to start. It is just peak comedy. Dwight's my favorite character from The Office, so I gotta give him an S. Up next we have Erin. Erin was a good character when she was Michael's right-hand man, basically. However, when he left, her character kind of suffered the consequences. The relationship between her and Andy was butchered, and I personally didn't care for the who's her mother storyline. Erin gets a lot of hate, but honestly, if you look back at some of her scenes, she can be pretty funny at times. So I'll put her up there with Andy and Daryl. I mean, she would throw away disposable cameras. That is like, come on, like that's great writing. Disposable cameras. I don't know, it's probably not that funny, but it just gets me every time. Who do we have next? Gabe. F tier. Up next we have Holly. You know, Holly was Michael's love interest for a while, and she wasn't that funny. I feel like she tried a little too hard. At first she was unliked. There's not much to say about her. I'll put her with the average characters. Jan is another one of Michael's love interests, but Jan was, sure enough, less funny. Her character was just way too mature to be dating the likes of Michael Scott. And opposites do attract, but in this case, they never really do. So, D also. Jim Halford. I don't like Jim at all. Reason one is his treatment of women. He's seen as this perfect guy that plenty of women on the show tend to fall for, and even fans. But why? He's not good to women. He pretty much dated someone just so he wouldn't feel lonely at the boat party, yet quickly breaks up with her. He also led Karen on for a while since he still had feelings for Pam, so he wasn't serious about the relationship. And speaking of Pam, he kissed her while she was engaged. He's also a bully to Dwight. Imagine going to a job you love only to constantly be pranked by someone, just because you're a little odd. That's classic bullying right there. And its justification?
But he does deserve it, though.
Don't get me wrong, Dwight doesn't get off scot-free because he does some crazy stuff as well. I spouted a lot of Jim hate, but at the same time, he's funnier than a lot of the characters in the D section, so... But not funnier than B, so I put him in C. I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for that. Up next, we have Joe Bennett. Joe was a character. Can't really name any great moments or super funny moments that she had, so I'll just put her with the average people. Not as terrible as the likes of California or Gabe, but not as good as Jim? Up next, we have Karen. Karen was Jim's love interest when he met her at the Stanford branch. She gets a lot of hate from fans for trying to mess up the perfect relationship that was Jim and Pam. But in reality, Karen was a victim. Jim calls it off with Karen really just because she isn't Pam. The two even kiss each other when they were in separate relationships. But that's okay though, because they're perfect for each other in love and blah blah blah. I don't really like using the word toxic too often, but that's probably what Jim is, so I put Karen in C. That's a little awkward. Kelly. Kelly is a great example of what not to do when you're in a relationship. You never want to be on and off again with somebody who clearly is a terrible person. She's not the smartest person, but she can be funny at times. Kelly and Ryan are both trash in their own ways, so they're pretty much perfect for each other. Maybe even more perfect than Jim and Pam. Despite that, she still gets D. Kevin. Kevin is arguably one of the funniest characters in the show. He has a ton of comedic moments that are great, though I'm curious to know how someone so dumb can have a job as an accountant. He's about as funny as Andy and all those, so I give him B. He's probably more funny, but I wouldn't put him up there with Creed. Creed is too good, man. Meredith. Meredith is best known for being the ratchet one in The Office. She's typically funniest when things are done to her, like getting run over, having lice, or getting attacked by a bat. Meredith. A tad bit funnier than the likes of anyone in the D section, so I put her in C. Up next, we probably have the fan favorite of the show, Michael Scott. Michael is best known for being the ratchet one in The Office. Wait, that's not right. Michael is probably the most inconsistent character in the show for me. Sometimes I'll love him and sometimes I'll hate him. Michael can be the MVP for many episodes also, providing no shortage of comedy and memorable moments. However, I believe a lot of his actions don't receive the proper punishments, and I'm a man who believes anyone should be punished for wrongdoings. Don't get me wrong, occasionally he'll get called out on his nonsense, but they're pretty rare. Michael Scott, extremely funny, extremely frustrating, and B. I'm also probably going to get a lot of hate for that. Up next is Nellie. Nellie is a classic case of writers not having a clue. They make her as a villain when she tries to take Annie's job and get Dwight fired with Robert California. Yet they want us to have sympathy for her when she wants a kid but can't have one. Why would I give sympathy to a character that you made out to be the bad guy, or bad woman, whatever? The viewers aren't stupid writers. Come on. Side note, if you do like Nellie, I'm not calling you stupid, I'm just making fun of the writers. Get out of here, you British woman. Oscar Martinez. As far as characters go, Oscar is probably the most normal one. He acts more different towards the end, but nothing major. He does have his funny moments though, like when he's cussing out Michael in Spanish, or when he doesn't want to get hit with a lead pipe. Oscar. C. C, senor. Who's next? Ah, geez. Todd Packer. Even his last name sucks. It reminds me of a certain team. Todd is as unlikable as they come. He's been described to be a womanizer and a jerk. He made fun of Holly in front of Michael and Kevin in front of everybody. He's so unlikable that even Jim and Dwight worked together to send him to Florida. It's funny to know that they get rid of him the same day he shows up. That's just hilarious. Packer is a special kind of garbage. Still goes in the F though. Pam, oh boy. Similar to Dwight, Pam is a good example of how a character should be developed. At first, she is in a bad relationship and has trouble speaking up, but she finds her voice, as well as happiness when she dates Jim. Throughout the show, Pam makes some questionable lifestyle choices, like pursuing her art career and joining the Michael Scott Paper Company. Little things like this make her to be the most human one on the show. I mean, we all make mistakes. Pam is not the funniest character, but she's far from the least funny. You know, I've seen every episode of The Office, but I was doing research to see if there's any reason why I wouldn't like Pam. I couldn't really find anything. Knowing me, I'll probably find it by the time I upload this video. I guess she's just solid. The only bad thing is that she puts Jim on a pedestal. Like, he's not that special. Come on, you could do better. What do you see in Jim, Pam? Like, he's not that special. I'll put you in C with him, though, because y'all are perfect. Although, that's a little awkward. I'm gonna just put Jim in the middle to make it a little more awkward. Phyllis. Phyllis's strength, like other characters in the show, is reacting to people's nonsense. She probably won't have you dying of laughter unless she gets hit in the face with a ball or throws at her back. I don't know why throwing at your back is just like the funniest thing that could happen. Unless it's to yourself, in which case that's absolutely terrible. Phyllis gets to C. Roy. Roy is probably the best character growth on the show. Ryan is probably the worst character growth on the show. He starts off normal as a temp, but power goes to his head, which leads to his downward spiral. He's also a very manipulative boyfriend. Even if Kelly isn't that smart, at least he makes for good meme material. Some would say Ryan is the worst character in the show, but honestly, not for me. I give him C. Stanley, let's go. Stanley's probably my favorite character in the show, other than Dwight. His short temper and occasional outbursts make for my favorite type of humor. But then his attitude will totally 180 on you sometimes. He also has a very contagious laugh. Classic episodes like Staremageddon and Pretzel Day are why he gets the S tier. Also, did I stutter? And last but not least, we have Toby. Now, I can go the easy route and put Toby in the F tier, but I'm not going to do that. Toby is a pretty interesting character when you realize he's probably the Scranton Strangler. Although if he's not, he's just a really socially awkward guy who everybody hates. This hatred can be a little much, but also make for great moments. They gave him a whole Ferris wheel just because he was leaving. Man, I wish I had a Ferris wheel. Toby is as awkward as they come, but I wouldn't put him in F tier because I feel like he deserves a win, at least a little bit. So, D. But no higher. Alright guys, there you have it, the Office characters tier list. I feel like I did it justice, but I also feel like I'm gonna get a lot of hate for it. If you disagree with me, as usual, let me know, and also let me know what I should rank, because I will rank it. Here's my conclusion. Many shows struggle to develop the little amount of characters that they have. Not The Office. The Office has a ton of characters and they're able to develop most of them pretty well. Good on them. Anyways guys, until next time, peace.